In part one, we looked at the first 6 ways parents unintentionally sabotage themselves and push teens away, the ones that show up in the heat of the moment. Today, we're going to go deeper. These next 6 patterns are more subtle. They come from what adolescence stirs up inside the parent, not so much outside. We're talking about fears, unfinished emotional stories, internal pressure, and the worry that everything hinges on every small moment. These are the sabotage patterns that shape how you interpret your teen, how you anticipate conflict, how you hold boundaries, and how you carry fear. They're not conscious, they're not intentional, they're human. So let's walk through patterns 7 through 12, each with a narrative example, an idea of what's going on for the parent internally, and a solution folded right inside the example so you can feel how it might actually work. And before we get started, if you'd please like, share, and subscribe, it alerts the algorithm that content like this is helpful and more parents will be able to see it. So let's start with sabotage pattern number 7, 0 tolerance for mistakes. Picture this. Your teen forgets to submit an assignment worth 20% of their grade. They tell you at 9 p.m. their face is tense, they're anxious, they know they messed up. But before they even finish explaining, something fires up inside you. Your mind leaps ahead, and you say, if you keep doing this, you're going to ruin your GPA. Colleges look at this, this is going to follow you everywhere. You launch into a speech filled with urgency. Your teen shuts down. They start avoiding eye contact. They snap back. Why are you making this a big deal? I already feel bad. And now the moment is no longer about learning. It's about your fear colliding with their shame. Internally, this pattern almost always comes from catastrophizing, a deep fear that mistakes are slippery slopes into disaster. Often, a parent grew up in a home where mistakes weren't tolerated, or they paid a high cost for missteps, or they built their own adult success on perfection, and watching their teen deviate from that feels like watching disaster in slow motion. Mistakes feel dangerous, so the parent reacts as if prevention is the only form of protection. The solution is to let discomfort do its job without turning it into doom. So in this example, instead of leaping to consequences from fear, you slow the moment and hold the discomfort with them. So your teen tells you that they made a mistake. Your response could be something like, "Oh, this feels rough." Pause with it for a minute. What do you think needs to happen next? That moment teaches accountability far more effectively than urgency ever could. You're not rescuing, you're not catastrophizing, you're not piling on. You're helping your teen develop resilience, not fear. Sabotage pattern number 8 is talking instead of observing. You notice your teen is off. They walk into the house with a heavy silence. Their backpack drops too hard. Their face looks tight, and you ask, "How was your day?" And they mutter, "It's fine." In that tone, that clearly means it's not fine. But instead of pausing, you start filling the silence. And you say, "Well, you can always talk to me. You seem so stressed. Did something happen? You're really worrying me." And then what happens? Your teen withdraws. They move away from the pressure of your words, not because they don't trust you, but because you're overwhelming them. Internally, for the parent, talking is a parent's self-soothing mechanism, typically. Silence feels like uncertainty. Uncertainty feels like danger. So you reach for words to stabilize the moment. Underneath is usually a fear of disconnection, the fear that if you don't catch what's bothering them immediately, you'll lose your chance to help them in the moment. So going back to our example where your teen walks in and you're concerned about their mood, instead of filling the space, you're going to watch the space. You stay curious without crowding. You let your teen settle enough to approach you instead of you chasing connection. You might say in passing, "You seem heavy today. I'm here." And then you leave the room. Observation is not passive. It's attunement. Your presence without pressure becomes the opening they need. Sabotage pattern number 9 is over-reliance on consequences. So let's say your teen has been blowing off chores again. You tell them 3 times to take the trash out. They forget again, and you're done. You take the phone. You create a new rule. You pile on restrictions to teach responsibility. Your teen explodes. You're so controlling. You just take everything away. You don't even listen to me. And suddenly the entire conversation is about control, not responsibility. Internally for parents, when parents lean heavily on consequences, it's often because they feel powerless, like the only tool left is enforcement, or they fear inconsistency so much that they overreact with rigidity, or they worry that if they don't act decisively, their teen will spiral. Consequences become a stand-in in this situation for clarity, influence, and connection, all things that cannot be manufactured through punishment. Rather than blow up at your teen, the goal is to integrate structure with curiosity. What happened here? We had an agreement about chores. Walk me through what's going on. What got in the way? What's the plan for keeping this from repeating? When you do this, you're not avoiding consequences, you're contextualizing them, and you're teaching, thinking, not just compliance. When your teen feels understood, they're more willing to engage and more likely to follow through. Sabotage pattern number 10 is using fear to produce behavior. So let's say your teen is struggling with motivation. You walk by and you see them scrolling TikTok instead of studying, and something tightens inside you, irritation mixed with fear. You go to the doorway and say, you keep this up, you're going to fail. You think life is going to be this easy when you're older. How are you ever going to get into college? All you're doing is throwing your opportunities away. And your teen responds with either a blank stare, a sarcastic remark, or defensive explosion, none of which move the situation forward. Internally, fear-based parenting is usually rooted in anxiety about the future. You can see the long arc your teen cannot, so you feel responsible for steering them away from danger. And fear becomes the quickest lever to pull. But fear teaches your teen ultimately to hide problems, not solve them. Solutions, then, for this moment, if we go back to that example as you're watching your teen scroll mindlessly on social media, instead of leading with fear, you lead with clarity. And you can just say, hey, pause for a second. I thought the plan was studying. What's happened? Has something changed? This shifts the moment from surveillance to partnership. You still hold the standard, you're just not weaponizing it. And you're not weaponizing fear to enforce it. Clarity lands where fear shuts down. Sabotage pattern number 11 is forcing insight too soon. Your teen comes home after breaking a significant rule. They have attitude, they're slamming of doors, there's a defensive posture, and you're thinking, I just want them to understand. I want them to reflect. I want them to get it. So you ask them, why would you do that? What were you thinking? Did you think you'd get away with it? In the meantime, your teen is amped up and they either shut down or explode. Internally, parents push for insight because they mistake reflection for responsibility. But reflection requires regulation. And when your teen is upset, they're nowhere near regulated. You're asking their brain to do something it is not physically capable of in that moment. Underneath your push is usually a fear, something like if they don't understand it now, they never will. So when your teen breaks a rule, you shift from interrogation to providing a sequence to follow. So something like, we can figure out what went wrong later. Right now, just breathe, sit, reset. Once they're steady, then you can ask, so what was going on for you? What did you need in that moment when you did that? What has to change, do you think, for the next time? Insight emerges when there's room for honesty, not pressure. And sabotage pattern number 12 is giving up too quickly. So you set a limit, no phones after 10 p.m. Your teen pushes back hard. There's arguing, door slamming, emotional intensity. You feel overwhelmed, you're tired, you're out of bandwidth, so you back off. It's fine, just keep it tonight. Your teen instantly registers that boundaries depend on your mood, not reality. Internally, parents collapse boundaries when their capacity is exceeded and they're burned out, when conflict feels too big, when exhaustion outweighs clarity, or when they fear rupture and abandon the limit to restore peace. But every collapsed boundary becomes a blueprint for your teen that says, push hard enough and the limit disappears. So back to our example of the argument with our teen over tech limits. We apply consistency without the emotional intensity. You hold the limit without escalating your tone. You hold the limit without demanding them to agree with you in concept. You hold the limit without collapsing. You can say, yeah, you hate this rule, and the phone still stays downstairs. Predictability becomes safety. Your steadiness becomes structure. These 6 patterns, zero tolerance for mistakes, over-talking, over-relying on consequences, using fear, forcing insight, and folding under pressure, are not signs of failure. They are signs of a parent who cares deeply and is overwhelmed by the emotional weight adolescence activates. And because they're patterns, they can be changed. If you want help applying this to your specific situation, schedule a free 30-minute consult using the link in my profile. We'll look at the patterns playing out in your home and map out the first steps towards clarity, steadiness, and real connection. And make sure you're subscribed and like and share so other parents can see this content. It really makes a difference. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for your commitment to your teen.